Welcome back to the channel, Adventures Through Climate Change. Okay, we're going to be talking about something different today. It is about climate change, but it's about in regard to what's happening with, electric cars and stuff like that over gasoline cars and, kind of stuff like that. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to do so anytime during this video. Hit the like or whatever. Lay down a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let's get over here. It's actually Joe Rogan. Okay, and I haven't seen this one yet. I saw part of it, and when I was reading, and just the title alone, The Disturbing Reality of Cobalt Mining for Rechargeable Batteries. I've read a lot about this, and it's kind of disturbing. I'll let you guys watch it, but there's a lot that they don't tell you about what's going on, and it's just super sad because when we gaslight about oil companies and people actually making a living, like drilling on our own soil and stuff, and it's feeding a lot of families. And then we talk about what's going on here, and a lot of it is, I think China owns about 85 or 90% of the cobalt mining right now. So everything we do with all batteries is so dependent on that. But this is a longer video, 15 minutes, so let's get into it.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Please detail the journey that you went on to write this book and why it's of concern to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I started traveling to the Congo 5 years ago.
And I'm sorry if my
I've been doing research on slavery and child labor for about 20 years, traveling all around the world, documenting slaves and child laborers, human trafficking. And this came across my radar maybe 7 years ago. People started talking in the field about cobalt. Cobalt's in the batteries. It's in the Congo. The conditions are horrible. And I had no idea. I never heard of this. So I started planning to take trips to get down there. And I took my first trip back in 2018. My plan was I thought I would try to lay the groundwork to do some academic research. And the things I saw there were so appalling and heart-wrenching and urgent that I changed my approach. I thought people need to know about this. I need to write a book. And so I started planning more trips, and I just kept going back. And the reason this is important, Joe, and we can dig into this in more depth, throughout the whole history of slavery, I mean, I'm going back centuries, never in human history has there been more suffering that generated more profit and was linked to the lives of more people around the world, ever in history, than what's happening in the Congo right now. And the reason I say that is this. The cobalt that's being mined in the Congo is in every single lithium-ion rechargeable battery manufactured in the world today. Every smartphone, every tablet, every laptop, and crucially, every
Toys.
electric vehicle. So you and I, we can't function on a day-to-day basis without cobalt, and 3/4 of the supply is coming out of the Congo. And it's being mined in appalling, heart-wrenching, dangerous conditions. And so that's why people need to know, because by and large, the world doesn't know what's happening in the Congo.
It's something that people sort of know peripherally, that, that they call them conflict minerals, and, they know that they're coming from an area of the world that's very poor, but I don't think...
They've talked about this with diamonds and stuff. Most of the diamond mining was slave labor and whatnot. And it's just sickening, because I saw a video, and I think it was this guy's video, that actually showed a mine. And there are so many people, I mean, just all over the place in there. And you can hear the noise, and it's just, it just sounds... Oh, it sounds horrible. Anyways, let's get back to that.
People are aware of how horrible it is. There have been some documentaries that have been done on it, and they're all terrifying.
Yeah, so conflict minerals was phase 1, and that's actually not cobalt.
What is it referred to?
Conflict minerals, also called the 3TG minerals, are tin, tungsten, tantalum, and gold.
Tungsten. Tantalum,
and those are in the eastern Congo, and that catastrophe started around the year 2000, late 1990s, 2000.
Yeah, I remember hearing
shortly
about
after
that.
the Rwandan genocide. The militias moved in, and the Eastern Congo is sitting on some of the largest reserves in the world of those 3TG minerals, especially tantalum. And those are all used in microprocessors.
Right.
And you can think back to, around the year 2000, mobile phones first started coming out and gaining traction. I still remember my little StarTAC flip phone that I had from Motorola. You remember that?
Sure.
And all that supply was coming out of Eastern Congo. Militias and warlords were forcing the local population at gunpoint, machete point, to dig this stuff out, and it was flowing up into.
This is like dictatorships that are forcing their people, and this is what we talk about when we talk about when the slave labor even started with the U.S. is these people, I don't know if it's their royalty or their rulers or whatever, are selling their own people into slavery. And it's never right to even buy slavery or anything like that. But it is a huge issue, and it goes on to this day. And a lot of activists, they want to talk about certain things, but they don't want to talk about this, right? I mean, this is heart-wrenching.
To the formal supply
Horrible.
chain, into mostly those first-generation cell phones. And that became known as conflict minerals. Cobalt started later. Cobalt really took off about
Recently.
10, 12 years ago.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And it's in another part of the country.
And it's because when they found out its battery capacity and whatnot, they were just like, okay, this is a game changer. Now, batteries still are not great. They're just not great storage devices. But Cobalt did wonders for the battery industry.
Mining provinces in the southeast of the Congo. And cobalt took off because it was started to be used in lithium-ion batteries to maximize their charge and stability. And it just so happens that the Congo, just as it was sitting on more than half the world's reserves of coltan and, of course, a lot of gold and diamonds and other things, is sitting on more cobalt than the rest of the planet combined. And it's in a small little patch of the Congo, southeastern corner, a part that used to be called Katanga. And before anybody knew what was happening, Chinese government, Chinese mining companies took control of almost all the big mines.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the local population has been displaced, is under duress, and they dig in absolutely subhuman, gut-wrenching conditions for $1 a day, feeding cobalt up the supply chain into all the phones, all the tablets, and especially electric cars.
And we're looking at a video now.
And I don't know exactly, but I heard that an electric car requires 1,000 times, or maybe it's 2,000 times the amount of battery power that a cell phone does. So it's like 1,000 to 2,000 cell phones is what you need for one electric car. And sorry, I didn't even mean to do this because they're going straight into the video. But this is the video I saw, I think.
Jamie, what is this? The mines?
This is his video. So I think so.
This is
so they don't have the sound
crazy
on.
to see.
This is the bottom of the supply chain of your
Look
iPhone,
at all those people
of your Tesla,
on top
of your
of people.
Samsung. I mean, I'm just naming those companies.
Right.
It's
Most
all
of them, I
them,
think,
right?
only get
All
paid
of
if they
them.
get Cobalt.
We're not just picking on
I
them.
don't know.
And here's what you need to know, Joe, about this video. I was the first outsider to get into this mine. And that's why it's just a really short video that I was able to take. This is an industrial cobalt mine where there's not supposed to be one artisanal miner. Now, that's the term used for people who are just digging by hand as opposed to tractors and excavators.
Yeah.
There's not supposed to be one here. That's what the story is told at the top of the chain.
There's like
this mine,
5,000.
and I can name it, it's called Shabara. There's not supposed to be one artisanal miner here, according to the consumer-facing tech companies and
There's
EV
5,000
companies
people
buying
there.
this cobalt. Lo and behold, I walk into this place, and this is what I see. There's more than 15,000 human beings crammed into that pit, digging by hand. And if you have sound, you hear the mallets, you hear the shouting, you hear the
I've heard the sound.
the grunts. It's a mass of humanity. You might expect to see a scene like this.
Yeah, it's like a market. At one point you can hear, oh man, somebody like crying and stuff. commercials. I should pay for premium.
So
I continue
there's
to
a
do this,
term
I'll have
that
to.
gets used, clean cobalt.
There's no clean cobalt.
It's not real.
No. It's all marketing.
That's what I read.
It's all PR. It's a fiction. Just like that place. There's not
Same-
supposed to be any artisanal mining.
Same with most of the diamond market. They say that it's what do they call blood diamonds? That like 85% of diamonds are blood diamonds. So you're supposed to ask, is it a blood diamond? And they can give you authenticity of whether it's a blood diamond. Most of that stuff is fake nowadays, from what I'm understanding, and it's still where they get most of the diamonds, and you don't know where that diamond that you bought came from. You literally don't know.
There. It's all done industrially. That's the story told at the top of the chain, and people assume, I mean the marketing teams at big tech and EV companies assume, well, who's going to go down there and actually walk into the place and grab a video that shows, no, it's actually all raw human force
Pretty far down there.
that is clanking that cobalt out of the ground.
Yeah, but is it the fact that we don't want to see it? I mean, as Americans, we are insulated to a lot of this stuff, and I think that's why when I talk about the oil field, and I do think we should still be drilling, I think it is healthy, even though I will say it's an ugly environment out there. I think it's healthy to be out there and work in there, and actually you can make a great living wage, and so this type of stuff, we'd rather just turn our backs to. It's terrible. It's terrible. And it's like, you got everybody gaslighting about I'm driving a gas vehicle, and you're driving around in these Teslas that are putting, I mean, yeah, now these people can eat, but they're only put into slave labor because of these minerals and what mainly China has done. And then because they have the monopoly on it, we're willing to work with China on it. It's absolutely insane.
So there's no clean cobalt. There's not a single company on planet Earth that makes a device that has a rechargeable battery in it that can reliably and justifiably claim that their cobalt isn't coming from sources like that.
Same with blood
and
diamonds.
that's the truth that needs to get out there. That's the truth people need to understand, because this is a story that goes back generations. There's these fictions told at the top of the chain about what conditions are like at the bottom. And truth seekers have to go find that truth and enlighten civilization so that people get agitated about it and want to do something about it. So there's no clean cobalt. Let's just make that totally abundantly clear. And anyone that claims otherwise is either peddling in falsehoods or is recklessly ignorant of the truth.
Are there any industrialized cobalt mines that use machinery and don't use slavery and don't use child labor and don't use these people that live in unimaginable poverty?
I've never seen one.
He's never seen
And I've
one.
been to almost all the major industrial cobalt mines. Here's why I say that. Number one, they all or almost all will have scenes like that on them. Thousands of individuals clanking away for $1 or $2 a day, okay? They don't have safety equipment. All that stuff, that cobalt's toxic to breathe. And they're breathing it in all day.
No masks.
No masks,
No filtration
no
systems.
gloves, half those guys are in flip-flops. All right? So almost all the industrial mines will have scenes like that. So that's number one. They'll say there are no artisanal miners there, no children there. And if you zoom in, you'll see that amongst that sea of humanity, there are thousands of kids, teenage boys in this case, because that requires a certain amount of force to clank away in that pit. Number two, there are hundreds of other artisanal mining sites scattered in the mining provinces outside of industrial mines. There are artisanal miners in the industrial mines, and then just on the other side of the fence, there'll be a sea of humanity digging there as well, because it's not like at the fence, the ore body stops. There's copper, cobalt, other things outside as well. So there'll be hundreds of sites where there are hundreds of thousands of people across the mining provinces digging. All that production is sold right back to the industrial mining companies. So it enters their supply chain as well. And then so they take what they extract with industrial equipment, artisanal miners inside the mine, artisanal miners, including children, outside the mine. It all gets dumped together into the same batch of acids to process and then flows up the chain. And again, no one can reasonably claim that their cobalt, even if they say that industrial mine, totally clean, don't believe what Siddharth is saying, that's a made-up fake video. They can't demonstrate reliably that all the other cobalt being dug up by kids in thousands of sites across the mining provinces isn't also flowing into their supply chain.
Gosh. I mean, that's just crazy.
Is there another source of cobalt in the world that's ethically supplied?
So
Africa
last
has
year,
most
so
of it.
2021 is the last year there's data about.
So that one video we watched about Antarctica and a lot of the minerals and resources, I was reading something before that somebody thinks that there's a lot of cobalt up there and a lot of other scarce minerals because humans haven't been able to take them ever, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure.
72%, almost 3/4 of the world's supply of cobalt came out of a small patch of the Congo. And then there's like 3% Russia, 3% Australia, 3% Morocco. There's everyone else is 3%. And I don't know what the conditions are there. I imagine in Australia, mining follows standards of dignity and decency and labor and sustainability and so on. But there's not enough cobalt outside of the Congo to meet demand. And demand projections are 400, 500, 600% increase in cobalt demand in the next decade or two, primarily being driven by adoption of electric vehicles. Each battery pack in an EV requires up to 10 kilograms of refined cobalt. That's 1,000 times what's required for a smartphone.
1,000 times.
So huge demand as the world transitions from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, which is a net good thing, except for the people in the Congo. So there's not enough other cobalt out there. Even if all the non-Congo cobalt was perfectly sourced, there's not enough other cobalt out there to meet demand.
These companies that we talked about that use all this stuff, whether it's electric vehicle companies.
So he's not even anti-electric vehicle. He's just saying that he almost kind of needs it. It's just that...
or cell phone manufacturers. Obviously, they're aware of this.
Yes, no question. They have to be.
Have they made any attempts to mitigate this in any way?
The truth, Joe, is no, not sufficient efforts. Most of what is done is PR statements, marketing. All these companies will say we have zero tolerance policies on child labor. We ensure standards of dignity and human rights for every member of our supply chain, down to the mining level. They'll all say this, down to the mining level. And they say it. And they may throw some money at the odd NGO or coalition or alliance that's meant to be working on these things. Nothing's actually happening on the ground. And that's what my book will demonstrate. As I take the reader on the journey from place to place, mine to mine. There's this fiction that exists outside of the Congo of what companies are doing and what the conditions are like. And then there's the reality. Underneath those layers of obfuscation, there's the reality. There's the truth on the ground. And not one company, not one business alliance, not one entity up the chain is doing remotely enough to ensure that the dignity and human rights of the people of the Congo, not to mention the environment, because all the mining companies there are just polluting and clear-cutting forests to build and expand mines. They're not doing nearly enough to respect the people and earth of the Congo, while we outside enjoy our, renewable, gadget-driven lifestyle.
Ignorance is bliss. Wow. Wow. I'm watching it on my iPad. Oh, Lord, I had to read a few of those comments. What is there to say? I had read about this. I had a friend of mine, say that I should watch this for the channel, and I thought it was a good idea. I mean, it was exactly what I read, and that was I think the same video. So that must be the guy that I had read the article on, and I can't remember his name. Does it mention it? Siddharth Kara. Yeah. Wow. It's something to think about, because although we do want these less carbon fuel, less burning, less drilling into the ground, although we got to drill for cobalt, and it's like, how quickly are we going to use the cobalt up, and where are we going to find more, and what are we going to do? And I've heard of drilling out on asteroids and stuff. I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is that I made a good living, providing for my family, and it was one of the most rewarding times of my life working in the oil field. And there was times when I would be driving back at like midnight from a site, and you look and all you see is the fires burning in the distance, because they burn off the gas, because a lot of it is very toxic. It's so expensive to filter it out, and they do burn it off. And you think, wow, this is just destroying the earth. This is terrible. I can't even believe this. But you think about the amount of people that rely on that fuel right now, and you're like, I get it. And I've mentioned this in many videos. I'm a bit more of a humanitarian than I am of a climate changer, I guess. So I personally think that the most important thing is giving people the jobs, letting them work for what they have, giving them the fuel that they need. And, the other thing is I consider myself a small-time economist, and working with China, who basically took over all the mines and stuff, I don't think it's a positive future. I think if the United States, we would have exploited them too. I'd like to think that I'm a bit more optimistic on us, that maybe we could work with them, actually give them a wage and give them a job and put some security in their pockets. But I don't know if the U.S. would have done that either. It's a terrible state. But these are the things we have to think about when we're talking about climate change. We're saying at the expense of who, and at the expense of what, and what are we doing, and money and everything like that. And so there's just a lot to think about. And this is the reason I'm doing these videos, because I want to explore all this stuff. I want to see, look, is what we're doing right, or should we be demonizing this or that? I hope you join me on more of the adventures through climate change. I am your host, Trevor Snyder. Please subscribe, like the video, comment on what video I should watch, or on this video or whatever. And we'll catch you on the next video.